Greetings. Okay, so I remember life before the moon was placed in our dark sky. There were stars, but the moon did not exist, and we lived a life way more harmonious than this one. It was when the sun would rise, we would rise. We would rise and we'd go out and we would do external, collective, community, village work that would support the whole village, the family, the tribe. And then whenever the sun would set, we would go internal. We'd go into our houses. We'd eat our meals with our family. We would sit in ceremony with each other around the fire. This is when we would tell stories, and stories weren't lost. Before the moon, we did a lot of internal work because darkness didn't scare us like it does now. Before the moon, we were healthier. And during my meditation on this subject, which I have meditated on and done my internal research for a really long time, it came into my awareness in about 2019 that something didn't sit well and right with me about the moon. And I was in this spiritual community, so that was something you didn't really talk about. I also was living and had a business with an astrologer, so that's not a very easy subject, right? But I couldn't deny this memory of working outside, being a mother outside in daylight, and feeling really supported and held in my community. And then we did what we needed to do together to support each other in the community. And then we took care of ourselves, and we were always full. We were the fullness. And when the moon got placed there, things began to shift. The fear of the dark arose, and this internal belief in ourselves started to weaken a little bit. You know, as I'm saying this, I'm like, we all remember things from our own perspective. We all remember stories differently because it's all based on our belief system, and it's all based on our own experiences. Not one person has the same perspective. So this is me sharing it out loud, hoping to discuss and remember and activate more of what this is for me. And it's an extremely confrontational topic. And so I kind of go through waves of even discussing it and then just like letting it go. And one of the main reasons is because I'm also very connected to peyote. And one of the things we do in those ceremonies is honor the moon. And this has put me on like a teeter-totter of wanting to disrespect other people's beliefs, and then deciding that I can have my own belief without it disrespecting them. And that disrespect is based on my belief in how I'm treating someone. But if we can all accept that we have our own separate beliefs based on our perspectives of life and based on our, DNA and our blood type and the village or the civilization that we come from, we all have a different view of life. So I also know that our belief creates a simulation that reflects to us that, the law of reflection. It reflects to us what we're feeling inside or what we're refusing to see about ourselves inside. So I say these things out loud while I'm doing my internal research about this memory of the moon and what it feels like, and why I feel very, I have distanced myself from the moon. And when I did that, I noticed the main thing was my cycles got a lot lighter, and They used to be 7 heavy days, like knock me out in bed. Now it's 2 days, and I'm surprised when it shows up, other than being able to know my body, and it doesn't affect me like it used to, whenever it used to be the feminine program to worship the moon. So this got me meditating deeper on why people, animals, a collective amount of people shift and change and even shape shift, if you will, around a full moon. Why nurses who work in the ER will tell you on a full moon, it's wild, it's crazy. So I got to going deeper into my cell memory. And what I remembered was when the moon came, illness came that wasn't already there. And that, to me, I remember as parasites. And then I went even deeper into that memory, and I connected these little tiny blood sucking, they're feeding off of us, our energy, our food. They're leeches, they're vampires. That seems very similar to the reptilian race, the low frequency reptilian race that lives underneath the ground and that also sucks the blood of people and feeds off of their energy. And so then it got me going into a deeper meditation of these connections. And what I believe and what I see and remember is the reptilians showed up on their moon. They placed it in our environment. I still haven't decided if I think that it's outside of the firmament or inside of the firmament, but or if it's literally just a CGI in the sky right now. But everything feels connected to me. And the reptilian race was the power in this last civilization that ended in 2012. That was their highlight lifetime. That was maybe I saw where I did like a 12 section pie that is all the zodiac signs, but it's also all the 12 districts, like I gathered from Hunger Games, and then the 12 councils of the stellar civilizations is the memory I have of how the earth was created. And in each section is a civilization's lifetime. And the way that the lifetime works is you start one way in your highest form, and then you begin to live in a human body and experience sins, like we've been programmed to believe, but it's actually just experiencing life based being in a human form where things are a little bit more sensitive. In our highest form, whenever we are fluid energy without a form that we are stationary inside, like we are in a human body, we're not as sensitive to experiences as we are now, which is why we created the human game, which is why what we're all doing here, this is my belief, to experiment on what it's like to be a human with a nervous system contained all of this information, this big energy into these little bitty bodies. And I believe that what we see around us and what our reality looks like is based on where we are internally. And so if people are orbiting all of the mainstream media's darkness that they just consistently spew, there's absolutely no light about mainstream media, the news, even now social media is just perpetuating darkness. If that is your reality, then that's your internal compass. That's how you know what to work on. So that's my belief of the law of reflection. Through these layers that I'm doing of meditating on the resonance of the memory memories of what I have, where they resonate in other areas of my knowledge, is how I put this all together. It's like a map with pins on it, and then I connect the dots and go, oh, maybe the parasites which are killing people, they are the cause of disease. They're living off of what we are, is eerily similar to what we is now really resurfacing about old world, about the reptilian civilization, about their lower expression. And if you were to do zodiac signs, there's a higher expression of that, and there's a lower expression of it. And most people, when they learn about their lower expression, they identify with it, and it keeps them orbiting that. So in some way, there is enough shame and guilt from all of our sins in the human collective, that all of this that is being exposed is because it lives somewhere in the human body, the human collective. And this doesn't have to be as intense or as all of the stuff coming out in the digital world right now, but even just holding on to shame of being sexually abused and keeping that a secret will eat you from the inside out, which is what parasites do, which is what you're essentially hearing is happening on the big screen. The big movie screen tells you what's going on collectively inside. So, how does this connect to the moon? Well, we're all thinking we're doing our shadow work and in our highest power inside of the video environment, but then the moon shows up, which is a false light in the sky, which then became the most powerful are the women in any situation, because we're the creators. So we have to be in our highest power. And we also need to be honored for the ability to procreate life. So the fastest way to de-center the high frequency of a civilization is to take the power away, or to create a narrative that the people in power decide that they aren't anymore. It's the same story that's perpetuated about racism. The story is that the white people treated the black people a certain way, and so it creates in the black people's mind that they aren't as good as the white. But it's actually the opposite. The more melanation, the more cell memory. The more melanation, the closer we are to our knowing our gifts and our powers. We were all melanated at one time, and then that was devolved also. Maybe I need to meditate on if that was devolved at the same time that the moon was placed. Like, what if that was the whole idea? Am I unlocking something right here, right now? I kind of feel like I am. We know that the reptilians shapeshift into human body. I want to go into that too, about signing your soul away. Don't let me forget. But if we know that the reptilians shapeshift into bodies, what if their shapeshifting started the de-evolution of our melanin? And this is where we got hybrids, and then hybrids became earthlings. And like, being an earthling is what maybe NPCs are, because if you don't have your information from your star origin, then you're essentially a dud. You're essentially carrying no knowledge, and that's how we go from a 48-strand DNA to a 2-strand DNA with all the junk DNA. Who decided it was junk? And if you call it that, then you're obviously going to go, that's not important to me. Just like calling our nervous system the nervous system. It keeps people from concentrating on it because we've heard that if we're nervous, then that's a low vibration. That's part of the program. If it was called something like our emotional system, maybe we would have a little bit more interest in it. But instead, we believe it to be, I know this because I experienced it. When my daughter's father, like last April, he kept asking me, like, how's your nervous system? And I was like, I'm fucking fine, while I was having a nervous system breakdown. But because I had done so much spiritual shadow work, I thought I was fine. But that's whenever I activated the remembrance that spiritual shadow work, crazy, and physical shadow work need to come together. Oh. I think the YouTube is still going based from my, like, this can't be going because I don't have, let's see what happens. Okay, stop you. You're still going. But let's see. That was interesting timing. So I'm going to stop actually, and I'm going to come back to this because I really wanted to be on my Rumble too, but I'm going to stop here and I'm going to come back whenever the electricity comes back on. So, hello everybody.